Howey in the morning.
Lakes 99.5 on our Talk of the Town discussion this morning. We have musician Billy McLaughlin.
Hi, Dave. Good to talk to you.
Where's home for you?
I live in White Bear Lake, which is, just outside of St. Paul.
Right.
So I'm a metro guy, I guess. I've been in love with music since I was a little kid, and tried the trumpet and piano and drums, and I was terrible at all three of those. And finally, I got going on the guitar as a teenager, and it really clicked, and I got the idea in my head that I was going to do this for the rest of my life, and ended up studying guitar in California at the University of Southern Cal. There was a real cool guitar program out there that I was lucky enough to be part of, and then launched a solo career basing myself here in the Twin Cities and getting out all around the country playing at colleges and making records on my own, both solo guitar records and records with my band. I had a band, a 9-piece band that I used to play with quite a lot. That's actually still together. A lot of us had jazz in our background. And what makes jazz come alive, of course, is when you open up the form of the music for people to play solos. And so we were, I guess there's that jam band element to it, but it was more kind of on that Dave Matthews, Peter Gabriel. We always mixed in some reggae music because I'm a huge Bob Marley fan. The funny thing was, after making all these records on our own and putting out our own CDs and traveling the country, I ended up signing a record deal with a company that was part of the Virgin Records conglomerate, a record label called Narada Records. And what they signed me for was my solo guitar playing, because along the way, I used to get up in between set and kind of re-intro the band by playing solo guitar pieces that I had come up with that used this weird style of both hands up on the neck. At some point, my fans really kind of latched onto that, and they basically demanded that I would always start the show with a set of solo guitar music, because everybody was so into it. When this record deal came along, I kind of shifted gears and spent a number of years traveling the country on my own, playing solo guitar concerts, from coast to coast. I really covered a lot of ground. If
you're just joining us, this is Billy McLaughlin who is joining us. Billy, your world was rocked, your world was turned upside down.
It couldn't have happened at a worse time, really. My first record on Narada went to number 7 on the Billboard charts for acoustic music, and as the second record came out in '98, I had a couple of back-to-back 50-city tours where I was going to be gone for about 4.5 months solid. In the middle of the second tour, I just started noticing, wow, something is really kind of going funny in my hand. And when something goes wrong in your hands as a solo guitar player on stage, in concert, everybody in the room hears it, It's a pressure-packed occupation from that end. It was just mysterious. I was just missing notes on songs that I'd played 1,000 times and never worried about playing it correctly. I could always just, pick up the guitar and just whip it off. I got done with those tours, and I went into a hand specialist thinking, boy, maybe I've got carpal tunnel.
Very common with accomplished musicians.
Yep, and there's a treatment for it, and I thought, okay, I don't want to go through this, but if I have to, I will. I love to play music. It's all I've ever wanted to do, and so I went in and got evaluated, and I was very surprised when the guy looked at me and said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with your hand. And I knew there was, and my audiences knew that there was. He just couldn't find anything. And what ensued after that was a couple of years of the symptoms getting worse, and me searching every type of therapy and any way to try to fix this, whether it was chiropractors or deep tissue massage or acupuncture or acupressure. I tried everything, Dave. It was crazy.
That had to be pretty scary.
It was really scary, and finally, the symptoms were getting so bad that, here I am sitting there thinking, gosh, what if I have a brain tumor or something that's affecting, the way that the muscles are getting impulses from my brain? And so I went into a neurologist, and she took one look at what was going on with my hand, and she said, Billy, I've seen this before in some of the players in the Minnesota Orchestra. You have a disorder called dystonia. I thought, that sounds like a country, and what the heck is dystonia? She said, you actually have what's called focal dystonia, Billy, because it's localized. It's in one specific focused part of your body, which is in your left hand, and you better think about what you want to do with your life, because your guitar playing days are over. This is gonna get worse, and it's incurable, and there really aren't any therapies that help. And so I walked out of her office thinking, well, at least I know I'm not going crazy, because I do have something. The only problem is it's going to be impossible to go on doing what I love to do. And she was right. I mean, I stuck it out. I kept playing any kind of a gig I could still play. I went out and did it. But she was right. The symptoms got worse and worse. And at one point, Dave, I was just at home in White Bear Lake, Minnesota, looking in the mirror saying, I'm a broken down guitar player. I can't do this anymore.
Talking to Billy McLaughlin here on the Lakes 99.5 in our Talk of the Town this morning. What was the inspiration to move beyond the problem?
What got me out of this, which was shifting gears, and instead of just looking at what's broken, I started to think, well, what have I got that still works? I literally looked at both hands and I said, well, this hand is perfectly normal. The other one curls up in a ball, basically, when I go to try to play my guitar, which makes it impossible to play my music. But if I transferred the skills from the one hand on the neck and flipped the guitar over, basically converted my right-handed guitar to a left-handed guitar, and started over again, maybe, just maybe, I might be able to get to a point where I could play my music again. And so I might be the only guy you ever talk to in your life who's had to learn the guitar 2 times. Essentially that's what I had to do. And it was not easy. It was a humbling experience. It's not easy to go from sounding really great to sounding like total garbage. But I think in that process, I learned how important music is to me, how much I need it in my life to keep myself on my purpose for my life, I guess. And here I am on the other end of it now, finally getting out and being able to play at the same level that I used to. So on this latest recording, I made sure to include 2 of my toughest pieces that I ever played right-handed. I've got them on the record, a re-recording of them. It's just such a joy for me to be writing again, and my real focus is on the new material. My new recording features string orchestra, and part of that story is that they told me kind of halfway into my process of relearning, they said, Billy, if you ever do get back, to that level, you need to know that you're at a high risk for this thing to develop in your healthy hand. And if there's something you want to do with your music, don't wait. Don't wait around. And all these years of playing with bands and playing solo gigs, and I'd never had the chance to play with orchestra. For my comeback concert, which we filmed, I've got a DVD concert film called Coming Back Alive, and at that event, I hired a string orchestra to play with me, and we got the whole thing on film. Lo and behold, the next time that I played with an orchestra, they hired me. So I got to tell you, this has just been a comeback, that has had just so many amazing components to it.
I really appreciate your time today. I really look forward to hearing your music, and I'm sure our listeners do too. So thank you again.
Thank you, Dave.